anything that's related to conservation of the environment. And then I know that some of the fund is used to pay the environmental conservation officers, but so basically the money that you pay for your license goes back to the resource that you're utilizing when you're hunting and fishing.
Does the Pittman-Robertson Act money go there too?
So the Pittman-Robertson Act, that is an excise tax on firearms, ammunition, bows, arrows, and then there's the
Fishing?
Dingell-Johnson Act is the same thing on fishing equipment. And that money goes to the federal government, which then redistributes to the states. And so based on our license sales, they give a certain percentage of that Pittman-Robertson fund to each of the states to use in their own conservation funds. So it's kind of the same kind of money, but it's funded through a different source.
But it doesn't go into the conservation fund?
Not directly, but then once it's redistributed to the state, it is put into that fund.
Okay.
So I'm here basically because right now we're in a waiting period for me to get onto the board. So the Region 3 position is appointed by the New York State Assembly Majority Party, which is the Democrats. And so we've had a couple people advocate for me. Brian Miller is the assemblyman for my district, and as a Republican, he doesn't have say on that appointment, but he set up, actually spoke with him yesterday. I was up in Albany talking with him, and he had me meet with Eileen Gunther, who is in the 100th district, which is most of Sullivan County and Middletown, and she is in the Democrat Party, and she is hopefully going to start advocating for me to go, basically to have a vote for me to go onto the board. But if anybody is in an assembly district that your assembly member is a Democrat, it'd be great to just say, hey, we have this vacancy in the Region 3 Conservation Fund Advisory Board seat, and it's been vacant for at least 4 years, and they're looking for somebody on there. And I've been picked by the members of the board for that seat, and that I guess I should have started out, but I currently am the Director of Natural Resources at Frost Valley YMCA, which is in the town of Denning. Claryville is the mailing address there. And there I manage our forest land. We have about 5,000 acres of land that we work on and run the hunting and fishing club there. I studied at the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry in Syracuse. I got a degree in forest ecology. So just the background that I have is a skill set that they don't have on their board currently. So I just have a lot of the forestry knowledge is a big thing with trying to help advocate for different ways for the state to manage the forest land that they have here for the betterment of wildlife and just the ecosystem in general. Like I grew up in the Adirondacks and I now live in the Catskills, so the big thing is a lot like that land is forever wild and isn't managed they can't do any timber harvest, can't cut any trees down because of the forever wild clause. So there's different areas of the state that they do harvesting, and that does have a positive wildlife impact in a lot of places. But a lot of people, the biggest thing is the Young Forest Initiative in New York State right now is a big thing for like grouse hunting and a lot of even just the wildlife watchers like bird watchers and stuff like seeing certain types of birds that can only live in early successional habitat, which is low brush, raspberries, blackberries, and like maybe some small pin cherries and everything. And you only get that after a pretty heavy timber cut or basically a clear cut. So a lot of people hear, oh, young forest, it sounds like a good thing, but the way that it happens is logging, and when people hear logging or cutting trees, a lot of people are just totally against it, but they just have a negative association with logging because people don't like seeing trees cut down, even if it could be beneficial for wildlife. So that's a skill that I think I bring to the board, is that I can help explain why they want to do certain styles of management. And another thing, like, I'm pretty young. The board's makeup is kind of like looking out at this room. So having somebody in my age bracket was something that they were interested in. But I guess the biggest thing is the hunters in New York State are aging, and every year we have fewer and fewer hunting license sales, which means there's less money going into the conservation fund every year. So we're trying, basically we need to find new hunters. And I have some ideas on how to do that, which we could capitalize on the locavore movement, which is people harvesting their own food or getting food from their local area, and the health benefits of that free range and humanely raised meat and everything is kind of a big thing with people in the city. And by capturing people within that mindset, we have a chance of increasing the number of hunters in the state and building up that conservation fund, and hopefully having more dollars to go around towards fish stocking and different wildlife management techniques that people are looking for here.
So if, taking notes here, so there's 11 board members, and I would imagine that they have some sort of process where they make recommendations straight to Carl Heastie in his office as to who would be appointed. So I'm sure you've already got that covered.
Yeah.
You've got your assemblyman covered.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking us for what?
So I'm asking for basically, if you can contact your assembly members and just say, I know that the Conservation Fund Advisory Board doesn't have a representative for Region 3 currently. Is there a way of pushing for this with the speaker? Because the current situation from the assembly members I've talked to is that the speaker doesn't have any interest in hunting and fishing, so he doesn't want to bring it up. But if enough people push for it, they can have it go to a vote without him being the person to bring it up. But the appointment is by the Democratic Party, so it has to be assembly members that are Democrats that have to be the ones to bring it up. But if your representative is a Republican and enough people are talking about it, something that may come up that could get more influence.
Well, we do have Kevin Cahill, and he does have a line of communication with Heastie's office. So we could schedule a meeting, Matt. I'll go with you, and we can schedule a meeting with Cahill to ask him if he would be willing, if he can meet you, grill you, whatever, and make a recommendation, hopefully. Other than speaking to assembly representatives who are Democrats, is there anything else?
That's the appointing body, so they're the only ones that can actually officially get me in there.
Okay.
So in that area, that's kind of where we'd go with it. So
Would a letter of recommendation drafted from the Federation of supporting you, would that carry any weight with anywhere?
So I spoke yesterday. I was at the Capitol and I spoke with Eileen Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
She's mostly in Sullivan County,
Mm-hmm.
but she said go to the federations and have them advocate for me.
She'll bring you to Jack over in Sullivan.
Yeah, so she gave me his contact information. I have to get in touch with him, but I guess it's basically if you guys have support, that would be it would definitely have influence for sure.
I was gonna say, we need a driving force, a beginning, so to speak, to go to the other counties, and get their federations involved, let them know what's going on. There's 7 other counties, we're not the only one, that It's Ulster, Sullivan, Orange, Putnam, Dutchess, Rockland, Westchester.
Right.
Is it an appointment at will, or is there a deadline? Is there like an appointment date, or is it
No.
just whenever?
It's just whenever.
Like
And-
if he wanted to do it tomorrow, he could just boom, make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, as to my knowledge, it's been vacant for at least 4 years. I know that I was approached in last February, 2018, about this, and at this point, it's just kind of been a waiting game. They've described it as the wheels of politics, so that's kind of where I'm stuck at with that.
Are you the only one looking to get that position at this point?
As to my knowledge, yes. And it was with the board. It was they found out about me just through like one of the guys on the board from a family member had learned about my role at Frost Valley and thought that I'd be a good candidate for it. And then when they saw my resume, all of the members of the board kind of unanimously said, like, we think that he'll be a good person in this role. But I don't know if there could be, like, if somebody else had interest in it, I don't know if it would change or not, but to my knowledge, I'm the only person that they have on there.
Are you still at Frost Valley?
What was that?
Are you still at Frost Valley?
Yeah,
What would it take to open up those streams for fishing?
they're open for fishing. We have,
For outsiders?
yeah, we have,
We had a gentleman here one night from Trout Unlimited that said they asked him to come in and give some kind of fly tying classes, and he said, well, okay, how about letting me fish in the stream? And it was, no.
I can talk to you after about that.
Why don't you give your phone number, and anyone who wants to contact you can do that.
So my number at Frost Valley is,
Do you have a personal number we can get all of you?
yeah,
Text message.
so it's, you want my office number or what?
Whatever.
Both.
best way to hold it.
Both.
Well,
Both.
So my office number is 845-985-2291, extension 217. And then my number at home, if it's in regards to the conservation fund stuff, it's 985-2542.
That's a
That's a
landline?
landline. I don't have cell service where I live, so
Is that 845?
that's an 845 as well.
Okay.
So
985
2542. And I saw that hand over
Yeah, I
there.
got two questions. One, why was the seat vacant for so long?
So
Said please.
it's kind of the thing, basically with what I've been going through the last year now is they've had a couple of people that expressed interest, and then it's just the politics of it. The person says, all right, I'm interested, and then after 5 or 6 months, they forget about it. And then when they call them back, they say, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. So as far as I know, that's kind of the way it's been.
Region 3 hasn't had any representation there for 4 years.
That, as to my knowledge, yes.
So my other question is, in regards to the Young Forest Initiative, it's a boom for grouse and other birds and small animals, but it's also a boom for the bear population. What do you think about that? We have a bear problem, that is, Region 4 has been cutting a lot of trees over there, clear cutting, and the bear population is huge.
Yeah, and that's something that the state, they have their management plan for each wilderness area.
We have one
wildlife
meeting,
management
guys,
unit
please.
has its own management plan. So depending on that, like kind of the region and what there's always landowner input and everything that they can, like, if people say, like, we have a bear problem here, they can kind of express their concerns. So
But you're gonna advocate, if you're on that committee, are you gonna advocate for the young forest initiative? In other words, I know the governor likes that, but are you gonna push it also? I mean, how are you gonna speak to that committee about that, because we have a bear problem?
Right, and I mean, the big thing there is we don't need the entire state to be young forest. There's,
And you can't in our area because of a little of the Catskill Forest Preserve.
right, and the biggest thing is, like, my background's in ecology, so you need a diverse landscape, so you can't just have, like, you can't just clear cut a whole, like, an entire piece. You wanna have different pieces of that property. Like, the property at Frost Valley, we have areas that are open fields that have blueberries, we have areas that are hemlock stands that are never gonna be cut in, so the diversity, like, I wanna look at it from like a landscape scale and make sure, like, you need certain areas that are young, but certain areas that are old growth or older forest that may, like, each stage of succession, you have different wildlife populations, and it benefits different areas. On the bear population, I know it's a, part of the problem is, like, that habitat, but then there aren't a lot of bear hunters in New York State at this point. So I know the state's been doing the early bear season, and they've had some success, some not success in certain seasons, but,
So is creating more bear habitat gonna be beneficial in that respect?
that's where you have to look at the kind of the management plan for that area. So if you have a high bear population, you probably, like, you're not gonna wanna cut that area because you don't wanna keep.
What they do when they are, and that's my point. Like, if you're going into that, if you get that position on that committee, and you see that that's a problem, and you're not managing it with, more hunters wanting to take bears, and you're gonna continue to advocate to cut those trees down, create better bear habitat, how is that gonna be handled down the road in your mind?
So my role on the board is to take what you guys say as people in Region 3, and then I can take notes and then report that directly to the DEC. So if you guys say, like, we don't think that we should be creating young forest here because we have a bear problem, I can just say, this is what people in my region are telling me, and it's not necessarily gonna be, the DEC's gonna take that for sure, but they'll at least have that in the back of their mind.
So I got a question, how are you gonna collect that information from all the different organizations? You got a pretty broad area to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come to meet, like, these meetings occasionally, and my contact information will be available to the DEC, so people can just give me a call and say, like, hey, this is what I think.
So say you don't get good input, are you just gonna go based off of your own judgment, or are you gonna start going after the different organizations to collect that information? Because that's probably one thing you don't need, is one individual deciding for the map.
Right, and, I mean, the good thing is, part of the position is I'm supposed to be going around to these meetings and talking to everybody. And I mean, going to these kind of events is something I enjoy, and just kind of getting to know everybody. And I love hearing hunting stories, love hearing fishing stories and everything, and just talking to people about just like their experiences, everything. So, like, it's something I want to do, and I want to talk to people and hear what they have to say and take notes and just figure out what people want, and really want to help the people in this area. And
Suppose you don't agree with people's opinion.
I mean, I know when the sheriff was here, there were people that were having some issues with some of the stuff that he was saying, but my goal is to represent everybody, no matter what they think. So if I disagree, I'm still gonna take your notes and bring it to the group at least, so.
See the guy 6,
It's Anthony.
Who,
The last name's Kordziel. It's spelled K-O-R.
the guy in the black jacket? Yeah.
D is in dog. Z is in zebra. I-E-L.
So 3 questions, or 3 things. We, the Federation, has an inflatable BB gun range that is designed for us to be able to go and do events. It's very safe, 2 lanes, eye protection, the whole thing, and it's a BB gun. And that is something that we would love to incorporate with any sort of youth event at Frost Valley. Obviously, it's not your place and you don't make the rules. But
Right.
what I'm suggesting is that you know that now, and whether you get this position or not, please keep that in mind and reach out to us if there's any way we can incorporate that. The same goes with, as the sheriff suggested, is are you bringing this out into the community? Are you targeting schools? The Eddie Eagle is something that could be a really good message for some of the inner city youth that the YMCA is bringing in there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we serve 41,000 people a year, and majority is the city, Long Island, North Jersey. And like we teach archery on site, and then we do 3D shoots there. We haven't done anything with rifles or BB guns that I know of, but I personally am not opposed to it, but it's something that I would have to bring to the
Of
higher
course,
stairs.
just all I'm suggesting is that you look for that opportunity and throw it in there when you can.
Yeah.
It's BB guns, and then the
Right.
second thing, Eddie Eagle is not promoting gun usage, it's promoting what do you do as a child if you encounter a gun, what do you do? It's the same thing if you encounter a fire, stop, drop, and roll.
Right.
It's the same thing, what do you do? It's don't touch, go tell, and shoot everybody.
Do you have information?
I'll
packets
follow
on
up
that?
with you.
Okay.
One other thing is if there's ever a way that we can incorporate a sleepover event for youth that we would do as a federation event up at the facility, would be willing to look into building something like that too.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that. That's
Offline, yeah.
yeah.
Matt,
Okay.
I think Matt has his hand up.
All set? Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the Federation draft a letter in favor of Anthony and send it to the CFAB board.
Would you be willing to write that, Matt?
Sure.
So what's the protocol? What's the protocol for the federation? Matt writes it, and then it goes to where? Goes to the secretary or to the president?
I'm sorry, yeah.
I mean, the executive secretary or to the president?
To the president.
Okay.
Well, so I'll write it and send it to.
He's gotta sign it.
Yeah, write it up, email it to me.
Okay.
Where do I send that after it?
So you can send that to
Send it to Anthony, and he can use it wherever he needs it.
yeah, you could do that. And I can send that to Assemblyman Miller, or I could send it to Assemblywoman Gunther.
Well, I'll send it to Brian, 'cause,
Okay.
can you just give me an email address on it?
Yeah, I'll give you.
Give me a card? That's good. It's even better.
Just a real quick comment. I think the problem, 4 years, we haven't had a representative. Who knows how long before that? I don't know what happened to your original representative. I believe he was out of Orange County. So a lot of the people don't even know.
I'm telling you, it was Mickey.
So I think,
CFAB.
starting
Yeah.
to get people involved.
Okay, I got another question over here.
Yeah. There's actually, with social media, Facebook, websites, there's actually a Facebook page, it's called NICOA. It's New York State Conservation Officers Association. They actually had a pretty good write-up about it, how they were disappointed that Region 3 hasn't had a representative in 4 years. I heard the gentleman over there, I believe, asked you if you were a member of a hunting fishing club or a gun club. Are you?
So not in Ulster County. I'm a member of a hunting club up in the Adirondacks that I've been in since I was a kid.
Okay.
And then I'm part of the hunting club at Frost Valley as well.
What is the hunting club at Cross Valley? What is that?
We just have, it's like a membership-based program that
For anybody? Anybody can
So
join it?
we have Anybody can apply, but we run a criminal background check on everybody,
Yeah.
and then we have a sponsorship by a staff member as a requirement, and we have various ways of getting that sponsorship, so.
So, New York, do any New York State DEC dollars go into Frost Valley?
Not unless they're spending.
Or how about New York State Conservation Fund, does it go into Frost Valley at all?
No,
Do you currently have a New York State hunting and fishing license?
me?
Yeah.
I have a lifetime license.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, what's the designation on the land at Rose Valley, because they do log it in state land?
Yeah.
It's private property.
Private?
Yeah, we own the property ourselves.
That's the problem with the stream. Just one other quick question too. I know we were asked about the DEC and all that. Were you actually employed by the DEC?
I worked,
And did it go away because it was temporary funding?
I never worked for the DEC.
Okay.
There was somewhere that I had an internship through SUNY ESF that I worked like alongside the DEC, but I never worked for the DEC.
Well, I just had another friend that did the same thing. Worked for the DEC, but in a temporary position with forestry. And when the position all went away, you know, I'm not quite sure what he's doing right now. And I was just curious if
Yeah.
that's was
Yeah,
your
I
situation.
had not worked for the DEC.
Thank you, Anthony.
You're welcome.
So. There's a motion. Do that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to write a recommendation letter for